Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Quickly and Cost-Effectively Transition from Paper Personnel Files to Electronic Personnel Files. My name is Chris McCollum with XFT, and I will be your host for today's webinar. A few key notes before we begin. All participants will remain on mute throughout the full duration of the webinar. If there are any questions during the webinar, please type them in the comments box at the bottom right of your screen. All questions will be answered at the conclusion of the webinar. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, Jochen Hager. Jochen, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Jochen Hager. I'm a senior business development specialist and consulting specialist for XFT. I'm guiding you through today's webinar, How to Quickly and Cost-Effectively Transition from Paper Files to Electronic Files. I have about 20 years of experience in the SAP content management market and worked for several companies in Europe as well as in the United States. For the last 15, 16 years, I've worked with many customers in the United States implementing imaging solutions for SAP. And today we are focusing on a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is electronic document management for HR functions or functionality in SAP. HR document management became more and more important over the years. Many companies started out doing document management in the financial area, but now with the rise of shared service centers, HR document management becomes more and more prevalent. We just recently came back from a trade show, the HR2014 trade show in Orlando, where we presented a variation of this talk. Today we have a couple of additional topics for you. We talk about retention management. We're talking about how different users experience the personnel file, and we give you a chance for question and answers at the end of the session. So in a brief overview, we will look at the return of investment, the general productivity reasons why a personnel file, an electronic personnel file, is beneficial to your HR organization. We look at how we can improve HR business processes, and we look at how we can improve day-to-day work tasks for HR professionals, managers, and employees by making these tasks easier to handle and make them become a proactive part and efficient part of a reliable HR organization. We close the presentation talking a little bit about us, about XFT, about an implementation, how you would go about an implementation of an electronic personnel file. And overall, we hope we have an interesting mix of information and education for you. And without further ado, let's jump right into the topic. Our desire is to make your organization an organization that runs on best practices for HR. How are best practices defined? According to this report on HR shared services by Bill Roberts in Business Week in May 2009, and well, given May 2009 is a bit dated, we're in 2014 now, 5 years ago, but the essence of these definitions still apply. HR best practices are defined as company-wide consistent policies and processes which are standardized in using automated transaction processes, a central knowledge base, a single HR platform. Most of that is already accomplished by using your SAP HR solution, but we are investigating today in this talk how that can be extended to also include documents, specifically documents in the HR arena, incoming documents, outgoing documents, paper that is usually accompanying every business process in an organization, but is hardly captured in an efficient, effective manner, and is kind of left to the side, organized to the side, is hard to share, and we will investigate how an electronic personnel file can actually overcome those limitations. Having data available electronically also allows you to use employee and manager self-service applications using web portals. It allows you to institute a call center. It allows you to handle many tasks by phone, email, and chat versus personal interaction. So that allows you to create a whole new level of productivity within your services teams. And of course, now that you have all the information available electronically, you can even consider outsourcing if you choose so in your organization. What we have learned from our customers that many HR professionals feel they're stuck in tactical work instead of working strategically. Their management asks them to be a proactive force in the organization, but they're mired down by everyday administrative work. They have to work within the constructs of an HR services organization, but global offices have different processes, have different file system structures, information is not shareable. That all um, limits the effectiveness of any type of shared services organization, um, if not making it completely impossible to work in a shared service environment. Paper-based processing is expensive, it's time-consuming, and it's slow, and it prohibits speedy resolution. With that, it leads to low acceptance in the user base, and with that, it leads to low policy enforcement. And we all know that policy enforcement compliance is a very important topic these days. More and more rules are imposed on organizations, whether those are government rules or state rules, federal rules or state rules, or just organizational rules, or just best practices that are set up within an organization. But all these rules are in place for a reason, and they have to be observed, and there's internal audits that verify that these rules are actually taken care of. But if processes are hard to do, if processes are paper-based, then employees don't like to do these processes, they don't follow them, and that leads to non-compliance in the long run, which is a big detriment for effective processing. In the next few slides, I want to look at various, excuse me for a second. In the next few slides, I want to look at how an electronic personnel file can impact the daily work of an HR professional, and a regular line manager, or an employee. So what the XFT personnel file offers is a deep integration of formerly unstructured steps into your SAP ERP HR system, which allows your organization to flexibly design processes and maximize the impact for all three levels in your organization. So all HR relevant activities that were formerly managed via email and paper records or faxes can now become completely integrated steps within your existing HR processes and become a part of your permanent record in your archive, managed by retention management and access rights and roles within the organization. And we'll expand on that a little further down this session. Now, looking at this from the viewpoint of an HR professional, the HR professional usually complains about a lack of time, about a focus on non-essentials, too much time is spent gathering and filing documents, administrative tasks take up too much or the majority of the available productive work time, and they're struggling with compliance gaps for all the reasons I just mentioned on the last slide. Now, all of that leads to a lack of strategic focus. People cannot focus on strategic HR tasks. They become a cost center more than an active proactive part of the organization. HR should be there to help an organization and make them excel by finding the right people, the right talent to make a success and make an organization successful, not just be a cost center for administrative purposes. A quick look on what the XFT personnel file is all about. This is nicely summarized in this screenshot, and we'll see a live demo a little further down the road here in about 10 minutes. We have on the right-hand side of this screen, we have a folder listing, and those folders can be expanded and collapsed. The titles of the folders, the document types are all customizable. This is all part of our setup process, very easy setup process. This folder structure can actually be regionalized, meaning if you work in an international company, if you have multiple regions that have different documents, let's say certain documents only apply to the US, other documents apply to Canada, yet other documents are required only in Europe or overseas or Asia, then we can set up different folder structures so that people in these regions only see the documents that are relevant in their region. And that reduces clutter. It makes the application much more pleasant to work with and easier to um, to see and grasp what is actually in the personnel file. And besides just clicking on a document, bringing it up a full screen, you can also have a screenshot, a thumbnail on the left side, very convenient document previews that list the first page of all the documents that are in the folder, and you can quickly scroll through and see what is in there to find the one document you're looking for. On the top, we have some personnel data straight out of SAP, which is just displayed. Big advantage, no data is copied into the solution because XFT personnel file lives in SAP. It has access to all the tables, of course, within user authorizations and access rights, and the data can be displayed. There's a lot of buttons on top. We'll talk about some of those as we go along. Those are shortcuts for convenient functions all around managing personnel files in an organization. So with all that, the HR professional highly reduces effort on administrative tasks. There's the capability to retrieve documents in electronic folders very quickly, whether those documents are relevant to a person in your local office or in a remote office, maybe in a home office. All and everyone has the same view, whether an HR manager takes a look at a file or an HR employee or the employee themselves, if they have the correct access set up, take a look at the folder. Everybody sees the same folder, and compliance is ensured. We have automated processes we can set up, and HR can return to more strategic work because all this clutter is minimized and all the administrative tasks are minimized within the daily work routine. Now, looking at what managers actually have to, looking at how this impacts managers, and before we go look at the specific challenges managers have, just a little review of what managers have to do today. They have to handle an increasing variety of tasks, and a greater number of seemingly random requests. Gone are the days where your work routine is very scripted and you only have like 5 different tasks you're doing over and over again. With automation in modern offices, all the repetitive tasks are more and more taken over by software systems, and computers are automated or plain out eliminated. So the challenge in everyday tasks gets greater, and managers can only handle these greater number of seemingly random requests by receiving more support. And the electronic personnel file is one way to offer them more support, to allow them to deal with ad hoc and less scripted process flows, to focus less on the process than on the problem and the resolution, and have the documents and have an understanding and documentation on the document by logging information, by making notes on the document, when a decision was made, why it was made the way it was done, and have that as part of the permanent record. So today, again, without an electronic personnel file, tough situation for manager, lack of transparency. They don't know what the status of their employees actually is in the team. Are all my certifications for all my employees up to date? Do I have all the necessary legal documents on file for them? If I'm running an installation crew, have they all been through the safety training? Have they all been through the compliance training? That those are my tasks as a manager, to ensure these elements. And without access to the file, I would have to keep logs. I would have to keep what I like to call shadow files. I've been a manager myself, and I have had a copy of everybody's personnel file in my desk drawer, completely unsecured, a big security issue. But it was the only way for me to keep access or have access to the information, because in the setup I was working, and I was on the East Coast, and my headquarters with all the personnel files was on the West Coast. So we shipped files back and forth using FedEx, but I only had my own copies, which, as I said before, were completely insecure in my drawer. So all that needs to go. All that is not up to date. All these shadow files and difficulty in getting access for managers needs to be eliminated. In Without electronic sharing, of course, you have difficulties to share information. Managers receive HR processes as tedious or cumbersome. They're bothered by it. HR processes are not processes managers do on a daily basis. They do these processes once a year, maybe once a quarter at most. It's when that dreaded review time comes up, then when you have to comply with HR tasks, and you forgot all about what it was, what you had to do last year. So it's a big learning curve every time. Now, if we organize these processes and make them guided procedures by setting up workflows and giving them the information electronically, then things can become much easier. Um, in We really need to make sure that HR is viewed as a partner in this process by the line manager, and not as a hindrance. So um, also important for the manager is how does how does a manager have to deal with document retention and employee life cycle? What documents do we have to hold on? Which documents should we keep? Which documents can you destroy? How do you enforce compliance associated with the personnel file? And how do we enable the organization to meet legal obligations and reduce risk and cost of compliance? Well, all of us know how costly it is when we have to retrieve documents out of these paper stores. And I believe all of us have and use paper store like that, be that one of the standard organizations, Iron Mountain, that keeps these paper files, or whether we keep those paper files ourselves in a mostly in production facilities in low-cost storage space. But sometimes all these paper files are stored in high-value office space in prime locations, because HR is part of headquarters, and headquarters usually is in a nice location, expensive real estate. So there might even be significant cost associated with your paper storage. And you just imagine going through these files and how long it will take an employee, if there is a request for a file, if there is a legal requirement to retrieve a specific document, to get it out of these boxes. Now, we can all turn this around by enabling managers with access to electronic files. All of a sudden, they have full transparency. All the information is in one place. There's clarity on processes if we introduce workflows, and HR is viewed much more as a partner than a hindrance in the organization. The XFT personnel file, for that matter, allows full document integration and the support of ad hoc processes. We have pre-configured standard procedures that are included, but we can also quickly and easily add user-defined ad hoc workflows. Tasks can be dynamically assigned and monitored by the individuals. Workflows do not require an administrative setup that involves IT, but workflows can, especially ad hoc processes, can be defined by the individual or by a team lead in an HR organization. With that, we have full flexibility at the same time as we can claim to be fully compliant. There is no more leakage of assigned tasks, and there's much higher efficiency. So looking at this, what's in it for me from a view of an HR professional, we have a lot less time spent searching files. All the information is at hand. From a line manager's point of view, a line manager can easily access all the information about his team and can easily make decisions based on the information available. And he's sure that the information is up to date, and he's not looking at something he copied 6 months ago, but what is actually currently in the employee file. And even from an employee's point of view, we're not going to dive more into this, but let me make a few points. An employee in many states has the right to review their own personnel files. And the XFT personnel file solution completely supports this functionality. It allows us to set up an employee view of the file, and based on the role definition of an employee, all the documents or a subset of documents as appropriate within the legal requirements is available. There is a web view on the file, so employees can easily review files just using browser functionality they have on their desktop, and an invitation to view a file can be sent out through an email that includes a link, simple for an employee to click on and bring up the personnel file in a browser. At this point, I would like to get into a few use cases and show you a quick product demonstration. There is a number of use cases we have selected here, and we're showing a little bit of what it would take to do a simple case review. That's the first use case, the first video we're showing you. We're highlighting the ease of navigation in the system, how documents can be displayed, how we deal with bookmarks, and how annotations work. In the second demonstration, we look at a specific use case, and that is the process of extending an offer to an applicant. We look at the functionality of how to get documents in, writing a document in Word, identifying that document in our workstation, in our computer file system, and with simple drag and drop, bring it into the personnel file. It's there. Once there, it's automatically archived in a secure location in the background. The document is categorized, and we can then send it out to the applicant, as well as receive any response or feedback in Outlook, and also capture that document straight out of Outlook. There's many other applications. We're happy to show you more on the product. If you want more information, if you're interested in seeing more of the product's functionality or more of the business use cases that are typically available in HR, please contact us after this presentation, or contact us through our website, and we'll be happy to set up a more detailed presentation for you to look at exactly the processes you're interested in. So with that, I want to jump into the demonstration. And this is the first video we're going to look at. Here we go into, this is a standard SAP GUI. We have set up some favorites here. One of the favorite shortcuts we have set up is displaying HR master data. So once we start this, we can, by clicking on HR master data, we can move right into the info type for displaying employee information. And here under the uh, object services, generic services for objects, we have entered in our solution an extra button, an extra line item for the personnel file. So out of the context of this HR record of Mrs. Jennifer Morris, with a click of a button, with a click on this pop-up entry personnel file, we jump right into Jennifer Morris's personnel file. And this here on the left-hand side, you see a standard listing of folders. Those folders are fully configurable. We define how many we have. We define what the titles are, what access rights each person, each role in your organization has to these. And that's something we even do before we come on site for our first implementation workshop. We work with you remotely so that you have enough time within your organization to identify which folders you want. At the same time, we provide you with some templates of how this can be done. It's easy to expand all nodes by just clicking on one of the buttons. Now we can actually see which folders have subfolders in them and which subfolders actually have documents in them. Typically, we're setting up folders, subfolders, and documents in that hierarchy. And as you can see, by just clicking on a document, and we'll see that here in a second, by just clicking on a document, the screen splits in half, and we can actually review the file. We can easily click on the next file. I can browse through by clicking next up on one of the buttons on top. And we can go backwards. We can jump out of that split screen view and go back into the file. We also have the thumbnails I already pointed out earlier, a quick and easy way to find the right document you're looking for. And you then can just by clicking on it, view it in full screen. Viewer can be embedded or in a separate window. That's a configuration option we have. If you think about employees having a larger file, we have seen files with a few hundred documents in there, especially if employees have been with an organization for many years, then it becomes a challenge to find that one document you're working with again and again. So there is an easy way to bookmark files, and by just clicking the bookmark and then for one or two files, and then looking and then going up here and clicking on the spyglass, we get the selection of bookmarks down here. So we see the two bookmarks that have been selected, and those bookmarks are user specific. So when I jump into the personnel file the next time, I'll see exactly my bookmarks. And again, even from the bookmarks, I can bring up information on the individual files. So this concludes the first little view on the XFT personnel file. Let me follow this up with another overview. Now this is the overview scenario we were looking at before. Now we're looking at the offer letter scenario, file system integration, drag and drop, automatic archiving, document categorization, and Outlook integration. Again, we are in the personnel file of Jennifer Morris. We're clicking on file system access, and the screen splits in half. And instead of showing an individual document, I see a view of my local file system, and I can have local file system information here as well as shared file systems, maybe even a mounted directory for a scanner or a multifunction device, and that will be also an easy way to get documents into the system. In this particular case, we have created an offer letter for Mrs. Jennifer Morris, and that offer letter is locally, is either scanned or is local on my file system. I might have just written it in Word and saved it as a PDF for documentation purposes. I'll take a look at it. Yes, this is the document I actually want to connect or store in the personnel file. I drop it in the appropriate folder and get prompted for a document type. Here with the pull down, I can select what document types are appropriate for documents in this folder, and it's a selection of your documents. You have to imagine that each implementation of a personnel file has 100+ different document types, but we see only those that are relevant for this particular folder at this time. We select the appropriate document type. We can add a free text description. The date is captured, and we click on Save. And here in the corner, in the left bottom corner, you see record was saved. That indicates that the document was actually stored in the underlying content repository and is now safeguarded by the system. And now this offer letter is in the system. We can look at it again. We could send it out. We could print it. We can mail it. And in our little scenario, this offer letter went out to Jennifer Morris, and it went out to her maybe as a printed copy or in an email. And we're now getting a response back from her. And that response obviously comes in through mail. And because Jennifer Morris is a modern young lady, she is responding to us via email, and she is sending us back the acceptance letter. Now, the same thing here as before. We can, with simple drag and drop, we can pull the letter out of our inbox and drop it into our XFT personnel file. We do classification of the document again. We define the doc type. We enter a description to it, and the record is saved as just as before. And now we have the acceptance letter on file. We have the offer letter on file. And you can see how easy it is to get documents in and out of the system. And there's another scenario using barcodes, which I want to skip over right now. So this concludes the demo section of our presentation. And we have many more demos. We can even do live demos on the system. So if you're interested in more information on the system, more use cases, please give us a call, and we'll be glad to set up a personal meeting to identify what we have. So we have a couple more available on approval on employee self-service, manager self-service, on different reports and statistics. And also just to give you an overview of what use cases we actually support. We fully support hire to retire processes, internal transfer, recurring background checks, annual reviews, certification letters, professional licenses, promotions and annual review processes, open enrollment, health coverage, selection processes, worker compensation cases, harassment cases, internal reviews, and many more. This is just a selection of business use cases that greatly benefit from the use of an electronic personnel file. We make legacy archive. We support your organization in legacy archive conversion, backfile conversion, as it's sometimes titulated, and work with you to identify vendors or help you set up a process in-house to do that. We help you set up your scanning processes. We work with you on desktop integration, Outlook integration, just the way you saw it. There's retrieval capabilities, review capabilities, audit support, retention management through our retention management module, as well as through our compliance cycle workflow functionality. There's functions for employee and manager self-service. And very interesting to many of our customers, a full-fledged lending process that gives people temporary access to files. Specifically, we implemented that for one of our customers in Canada that had the strong requirement to share employee files with actual employees. So an employee can request a file lending through a web portal and will then receive an email with a link to his or her personnel file. Very convenient functionality, highly compliant setup. Customers love it, and employees have a very high acceptance rate on this particular process. Um, Here's just a summary of what we already showed. So hiring and email integration, great functionality. As we saw, benefits are more transparency, more efficiency, and full compliance in the process. So a lot of benefits for 3 key individuals. I hope you can now see how an HR professional benefits, how a manager can benefit, and how an employee actually benefits. So the XFT personnel file really takes a disparate all the disparate information in your organization, those distributed files, those shadow files, the information you have throughout your organization, and puts it in a structured file system format. It adds process structure, authentication and authorization, and security and compliance. And how does it do that? It does that by giving you easy access to faxes, electronic documents, email, voice messages all in one spot. It allows standardized um, and highly organized processes. It has the flexibility to grant ad hoc process management. And because it's a familiar interface and you have all your drag and drop capabilities, it has very low training and ramp up cost associated with it while getting you the highest level of compliance with laws and internal guidelines. Over and above all that, the solution is completely SAP integrated. And the big advantages of that is the data integration, meaning there is no data, there's no duplicates taken from SAP, there's no redundancies. The data we see, the transactional data, is exactly the data we have in SAP. Integrated authorization management, all the roles are SAP based. All the document types are SAP based, all the process transactions are SAP based. There's no need to create yet another access structure for 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, even 80,000 employees. That's the largest implementation we did for an international company. And just imagine keeping another and managing another 80,000 logins and all the stuff around it, people misplacing their login names, needing to reset their passwords. All of that is totally eliminated by choosing a solution like the XFT solution that's completely integrated into SAP. Process management also is SAP based, and it integrates with employee self-service and management self-service functionality. It is based on SAP's proven archive link document interface, and with that interfaces into more than 50 different document services and archive solutions. All the common solutions out there are fully supported, whether that's the SAP content server, there's solutions by third-party vendors like KGS, or even OpenText solutions are fully supported with the tool. So you can use that if you run an OpenText archive, you can use our XFT personnel file solution on top of your OpenText archive, because it is a business efficiency solution that sits in SAP. And on top of that, I don't have that on these slides, but we do have an integration mapped out for success factors. Success factors is something everybody is talking about these days. It's an important new development in the SAP world. And of course, we are in the process of working with our first customers to build success factors integration into their XFT personnel file implementations. So again, seamless integration into SAP and support of all your work environment, Microsoft Word, Office, PowerPoint, Excel, even Lotus Notes, easy check-in into SAP, drag and drop capabilities, different input processes, everything is supported. We have a whole infrastructure logic uh, inside our software application that we didn't even touch at this point. We have professional tools in the background that allow high volume of documents going into the system and being managed in the system. So So what makes a complete installation? This graphic is a bit busy, but it shows you what actually all the components that make a complete integration. Now, XFT offers a number of additional solutions, those you see in here, but we've been just talking about the XFT personnel file. It relies on the task manager, our compliance cycle, and our queue manager, and those functions interface with multifunction devices, um, with external service providers that make files available through CD or FTP upload, with local scanners, desktop scanners, department scanners, mailroom scenarios. Display works on your local computers, whether you use our full function SAP GUI access or the HTML access as a casual user, and the documents are actually stored in an archive system here, an archive link compliant archiving system that connects to the appropriate storage hardware. A few selected customers in many in different industries. Bosch in the manufacturing industry is using it for personnel file, using our personnel file and AP invoice management module. Brose also automobile manufacturing personnel file and invoice manager. John Deere manufacturing, Blount International manufacturing in Portland, John Deere in Europe, but also the same John Deere you're familiar with here in the US. Swiss Re, an international reinsurance company. BC Hydro, one of our prominent Canadian customers in the energy field. Also ENBW, an energy customer in Europe. Jabil, an electronics company, and Shire Pharmaceuticals, a pharmaceutical company on the East Coast. And many more. We have over 80 implementations of the XFT personnel file throughout the world for many high-class customers. We support our customers with easy return on investment calculations, and in many cases, we have figured out that the solution pays back in as little as a year and a half, max 2 years, with full implementation cost factored in. So it's really, from an ROI perspective, it's a no-brainer. There's a lot of great benefits and efficiencies you can gain with the solution. Our portfolio is larger than just the XFT personnel file. We have a multitude of components that all sit on the same infrastructure. The XFT personnel file is certainly one of our flagship solutions out there in the market and very well received by our customers. A few facts about the company, and we're about 4 or 5 slides from the end of our presentation today. XFT was established in Waldorf, Germany in 2002. It's about 12 years old. Founded by German software engineers Dr. Thorsten Fenske, Volker Kohlstetter, Gerhard Scherer, and Norbert Schröder. All 4 individuals worked formerly at SAP in the document management arena. And once those tools in SAP were fully developed and SAP decided they now have a solid document management solution, a framework available in SAP, these 4 individuals decided to focus more on the business aspect and decided to form their own company. They have grown a worldwide team of SAP experts, providing consultants with close to 40 employees now, with locations in Waldorf, Germany, Fort Lauderdale, US, and Westchester, Pennsylvania. Our homepage is xft.com. Please take a look to find interesting slides and brochures. The solution itself is fully SAP certified. We recertify the solution every year. The latest certification is for our 3.4 release. The support actually happens through the SAP Marketplace. It's 100% ABAP add-on, a certified integration. So if you do have a support case, it's as easy as opening up an OSS node. You just select our part number, and we get automatically notified by SAP that there is a problem with your system. And we have the same diagnosing capabilities as SAP has. If you grant us access to your production system, we can even remotely troubleshoot anything in the application in your production system, of course, based on your permissions and the severity of the issue. We follow all transport rules and all guidelines for and best practices for software integration into SAP. In summary, the XFT personnel file is a fully productized solution that allows intuitive handling, full integration into SAP ERP processes, guarantees you a fast implementation, has self-service capabilities, and is based on SAP GUI and web front-end integration. Both front-ends are shown here in the pictures. We have a role-based access to the solution and allow the setup of secured workflows. A few key points to take home. We thrive to create a bridge between electronic and document-based information. We're proud of our integration into SAP as a basis for process continuity and transparency. We support standard and ad hoc workflows to make your processes fully compliant. We allow even document composition with our add-on tool, the Document Composer, that speeds up processes and improves compliance. And we achieve the highest level of integration and transparency while at the same time being flexible and customizable to the highest extent. And with that, I want to point out what a few good next steps could be for your organization. We'd love to learn more about your business case. Tell us more about it. Tell us what you want to, what your pressing needs are, what situations you are facing, what is driving you, what interests you. Let us know about your business case, and we would love to get into a dialogue with you and support you in realizing your vision. We can arrange for a personalized product demonstration where you can ask questions, you can steer us this way and that way, and we show you exactly what you want to see. Please engage with us. We have great pre-sales and business process specialists with many years of experience that can help you, advise you on what to do and how to improve your day-to-day processes. We can also help you with your archiving needs, managing retention times, or work with you on an ROI model. If you are unsure if this will really pays and you don't know how to get a project like this approved, get us engaged and we'll work with you and figure out how we can justify the project and give you hard numbers in a spreadsheet, in a presentation, so that you can take it to your management. And that concludes the presentation. Here's our contact information. And with that, I hand it back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Jakob. I want to thank everybody for joining our information session today. We will conclude by answering any questions, and I know we're kind of running short on time, so we'll do our best. If there are any additional questions, please email us. We actually have a few questions already. First question is there a search function to find the required document in the employees folder?
There That's an interesting question. The personnel file itself in SAP has no specific knowledge on the content of the documents. You can search documents by document type and title and by description. Sometimes you get the question, can't I search by keyword in the documents, like a Google search on all my documents? That is actually a function of the underlying archiving system. So there are certain archiving systems that have that functionality, and we can make that functionality available through a search report. But it does require that the underlying archiving system maintains a full text database, and that full text database then gives you that particular capability. Out of the box, the solution, independent from any archive, gives you searchability of documents by using PDF search capability. So if you store a document as a PDF and you use OCR on the PDF itself contains a text version of the document as well as a picture version of it. And that text version can be searched, and you can find documents in like you can do in any searchable PDF. But again, searching across documents requires functionality in the archiving solutions. Some of them have it, some of them don't. We're happy to talk to you in more detail, hear from you what you use, and then we can tell you if your specific solution is suitable, or we can help you pick a solution that has that particular function.
Okay, hopefully that answers that question. Next question. What is a typical implementation cycle for the XFT electronic personnel file?
A typical implementation for an out-of-the-box XFT personnel file is estimated at around 25 consulting days. So a very fast implementation. Some of our competition actually won't disclose how much time it takes to implement. I have heard stories from customers that we're told, well, first you need to buy the product, and then we work with you and we find out how many days you need and how complex your implementation is going to be. And then all of a sudden you're faced with 100 to 200 days or a full man year of implementation. We know and we have proven that we can do this do a standard implementation. Everything you saw today can be implemented in 25 days. That is the standard file structure, the integration into Outlook, into the file system, even upload capabilities for back files can be added. If it goes into workflow design and programming, ad hoc workflows can be set up easily. The capability for ad hoc workflows. So if you want to send a document around for information or for approval, those are standard scenarios we have as part of the standard delivery. If workflows go over and beyond that and they're customized to your company's specific needs, then that will be outside those 25 days. I know our consulting team doesn't like me saying that, but we have implemented this particular module for some of our US customers in as little as 10 work days by putting 2 consultants on site and having good preparation. So we can do this very quickly.
Okay, next question. How is personnel information safe?
The information is safeguarded by using SAP access rights, roles, and authorizations. So nobody is seeing anything they're not supposed to see. The safeguarding happens on the file level, on the subfolder, or on the folder level. It includes notes, annotations, anything that is added to the personnel file. It follows your SAP roles and authorizations, and the documents itself are stored on a secure SAP Archive Link connected archive and can be encrypted in that archiving solution.
Okay, and the last question, and it's a bit of a follow-up. Is there a daily log where you can monitor personnel information, data statistics?
Yes, everything in your personnel file is meticulously logged. There is a constant log that is written for every document access that is done throughout the day. Documents are added, it's logged, documents are viewed, it can be logged, documents are moved, changed, modified, all within the parameters of the solution. All that is logged in an access and activity log that can be adjusted to its detail level and can be monitored and archived for long-term compliance reasons.
Okay, that pretty much wraps up our webinar for today. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and if there's any additional questions, please feel free to give us a call or email us. Thank you. Thank you, Jochen.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chris, for hosting this, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.